Today is something we have never done before on the podcast.
When I started misusing alcohol, I think I was 14. And then it's a matter of like, I can manage this and I can deal with this. I was so selfish, right? Because I was putting my drinking before my relationship with my children. You kind of set the bar, right? And you chart the course. And through your actions as a parent, they modeled what I was.
So when I went to college, it was just like this open world where I was introduced to heavy drinking and drugs. This was a cycle that probably went on for about a year and a half that just had me in this chokehold. And that was kind of my moment where I was like, I'm at my rock bottom. I truly have zero left in my life.
Then I remember Pastor Lee in one of his sermons talking about generational curses. The fact that we have the power through the Holy Spirit and through prayer to break those generational curses. He took that addiction and evaporated. I mean, it was like, it was gone.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Radiant Podcast. Today is something we have never done before on the podcast, which is like a father-daughter duet, essentially.
Yeah.
And so we're joined by the Foxes, and which the Fox, not Foxes plural, but it's plural because you're both here. So we have Todd and Emily, father-daughter, and yeah, we've never done like a kind of like this. We've done like married couples before who've told their story of marriage, and I think that's kind of the only like kind of dual story. And so what I love about it is I don't know a ton about your actual story. I've worked with you, Emily, at the church. And Todd, you also serve at the church as well. You guys have been here for a while, and I want to ask you some questions about that. But you guys are, sorry, let me silence my phone. You guys are, your stories kind of intertwine together, obviously. And so, so just real quick, let's just kind of get to know you guys a little bit for people who've never met you. So Todd, you're a handsome man.
Thank you.
Married. How long have you been married?
Oh, I seem to always get that wrong sometimes, but my wife and I were married in 1993. So Julie and I got married in 93, and then Emily is our youngest and Olivia is our oldest. We have two daughters. And,
wow. I actually didn't even know you had a sister.
I do.
That's crazy.
She doesn't live here. She lives in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
So,
yeah. All right.
Yes.
But yeah, so, and that has truly been a journey of development as a man, but also as a father, right? And as you know, you've got a couple kids.
I do.
There's no book, right? There's no book that says, oh, hey, Sean or Todd, this is how fatherhood goes, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, I thought I set good examples, but when sometimes in the fatherhood role, sometimes you put your own needs first, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe it's your wife, and then maybe it's your kids.
Yeah.
And as much as that sounds selfish, I think that's true of anybody, because we tend to serve like ourselves first. Yeah. And that is some of the story as to how that's been transformational.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting you said that. And what I love right now is we just have literally dove headfirst into a deep end conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you like, so where'd you grow up? Like, but this is great because you hit on something that is deeply resonant, personal to me. I've literally been just thinking about that. So I have a 9-year-old son, and a 6-year-old daughter. And like, I try to live my life in a way that is like, I am serving my family, I'm raising and discipling my kids. And I know I am, but then there's times where like, weeks will go by and I'll kind of like retrospectively, like I'll be in the Word in the morning, I'll look back and I'm like, have I been actively discipling my kids, or have I been concerned about my own life right now? And like, how much longer can I do that before all of a sudden they're out of the house, And that's like it's kind of like oh shoot, like, am I doing this? Like, and you don't want to like beat yourself up, but it is like, you have to constantly check yourself of like, am I like stewarding what God gave me and my family? Am I discipling my children? Am I raising up? Am I serving my wife? Am I being the man that I'm supposed to be? Or am I more concerned about what work project I have going on, or what bill I need to pay, or what, fixing thing I need to do in the house, or whatever that is? Like, is that I need a snowblower right now, and that's dominating my thoughts. And it's just like, and I'm like, oh shoot, I haven't like prayed with my children. Like, I haven't taught them something in the Bible. And so, yeah, that's an interesting conversation starter right now.
It is. And Emily can share to the fact that, probably as a dad of young children, maybe my focus was more on work. Or
Yeah. Yeah. He's a great girl dad, I will say. If we had boys in our family, no. He's a great girl dad. He's meant to have daughters.
Yeah.
But our relationship has definitely evolved over time because my mom did most of the raising us when we were young. She was at every school event, every swim meet, and he was good about coming to swim meets too, but he worked a lot. He was traveling a lot growing up.
Right.
But I always knew how loved we were. It's not like my mom was a single mom or anything. And
Yeah.
I've always known how much my parents love each other. And I'll tell that to anybody. I'm like, my parents are madly in love. They love each other. There's never been a time where they haven't been just so in love.
Yeah.
And like, regardless of what's happened in their marriage, I've always known that and known that we're so loved.
Yeah.
So, but I would say, like, as adults, and just because he's kind of serious, we're able to connect more now that I'm grown and not a little kid. So
Todd, where do you feel like in your story the realization of that clicked? So like maybe you were, hey, I'm focused on myself, doing this, not necessarily like we talked about, and you could do that almost subconsciously, not be aware of it. But was there a moment where you're like, you know what, I have not, like my priorities are upside down right now?
Yeah. For me, it was one night when I was drinking heavily, and I totally went off on the kids. My wife wasn't even around, and I can tell you they both remember it, and I remember it that day, and it was, and I can't even believe the words came out of my mouth, right? Because I was so selfish, right? Because I was putting my drinking before my relationship with my children. And I won't even get into like what was said because that's not important, but it was the hurt that came out of my came from my words that I felt, and and I really believe this, that when we allow as people things like alcohol, which is a spirit, right? It's a demonic spirit. It takes control of us. It changes our character.
Yeah.
It changes our heart. And things came out of my mouth. And Emily she was there, her sister was there, and I got so angry, and I just said some things that were just completely inappropriate that no parent should ever say to their child, right?
Yeah.
Because it was just hurtful.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that to me was like, oh, and then this morning as I'm coming down here to in the book of Ephesians verse 6:18, it talks about pray all the time, right?
Yeah.
Don't cease in your prayers. And pray for others, not just yourself.
Yeah.
And I think about Olivia and how many years she prayed that I would stop. And I didn't. I just kept drinking, and I think that may have affected her relationship with God because she prayed for years, and I'm sure Emily did, and I know my wife did, right? That, God would take that and he would remove that from me. When we're talking, I don't know, a couple decades, right? And, but anyways, we can get into that in a little more detail later on, but that was kind of like, for me, it was one of those moments like, wow, did you just really do that? Did you really say those things?
Yeah.
And how that impacted my children, right?
Yeah.
But yet they still loved me.
Yeah.
They still were, they still prayed for me, right?
Yeah.
But I was blinded by the fact that I was putting that before them.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like, when you said the phrase like, they still loved me, it's because I believe it's like they can see when it's like, this is not dad.
Yeah.
Like it's what I have allowed to control my life has controlled me, and I need to break free of that. And it's like, you can almost see when that person is being controlled by something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like a moment for you. Now, obviously, I just know from experience and from other people that even though you have that realization, it's not like, and then the next day I was just totally different and everything was better now. And it's like, it probably wasn't that. So it's like, what was that journey like? Like you had a moment, like the Lord in his kindness showed you, Todd, this is not who you're meant to be. And then what was the rest of that journey like?
Well, it was still very painful because I continued to sin from the standpoint of like, oh, well, we go to church and I was involved in it was a different denomination, but it was, you were involved in the church, but it was transactional.
Yeah.
It wasn't spiritual. And as that relationship fell away from that denomination because of what they believed in and how they carried themselves as a congregation, we left that. And then we began to like try to explore other churches. And our first experience was of friends of ours. They said, come to, at the movies. That was like, I don't know, way back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that was our first time we ever came to Radiant.
Really?
I think it was still Res Life.
So around this time, Emily, how old are you?
Oh, probably like 5th grade.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we had tried it out. We had come for at the movies, and then we were church homeless for a really long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
We just bounced around, shopped.
Yeah.
Like when I was in middle school and high school, we did not have a church, and we were not in church.
Before we continue with that part like of the timeline, let's go back to like that moment, like that realization moment we were talking about. Were you in like around 5th grade at that time?
Yeah,
So yes,
I would
you're
say so.
probably like 10 years old or something
Yes.
like that. So what's going through your mind as a 10-year-old? Like I'm picturing people that might be watching or listening to this who have experienced something similar in their childhood and how to, and maybe their parent has not reconciled that, and it's like, what was your thought process going through that?
My sister and I had very different relationships with my dad at the time. She was very upset with him for his drinking. He had been an alcoholic our entire lives. That was all we knew. And she begged him to stop and would pray. And I would always say that I was like a dad's girl. And so I was like, don't make him feel bad. And I would protect him. Like when he would sleep on the couch, I would help make his bed on the couch and be like, I love you, give you a kiss on the cheek goodnight. And where I should have had my mom's back, I was always protecting him. So when these things happened, I was like, this is scary, but I forgive you and I love you. And I don't think I ever was like, stop drinking. My sister begged and begged, but I was never like, stop, because I didn't think at the time like my dad is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And as I've grown and seen like the patterns in my life, I'm able to recognize what that was. But just being a kid, you're so confused because I'm like, this is a really scary experience, but I love my dad.
You also
so
probably
much.
don't know anything different.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like you, like right now as an adult, you're able to like kind of look at how do people react and respond to these situations. It's like, this is just my dad. This is what's normal.
Yes.
And you kind of, you cope with it in a way. Yeah.
So I grew up and my dad was, he drank, right? And my mother wasn't necessarily a drinker, but my dad drank, and the good part is there is salvation in all of this, right? So I grew up with that was it, and there's stories that I know my dad and I have talked about. Like he's like, I'm sorry that that you experienced that, and we've talked about this, right? And so, but that was normal, right? And when I started misusing alcohol, I think I was 14.
Okay, yeah.
And
pretty
then,
formational year. Yeah.
Right. And so you do things and then it's a matter of like, oh, I can manage this and I can deal with this. And then I remember Pastor Lee in one of his sermons talking about generational curses.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have the power through the Holy Spirit and through prayer to break those generational curses.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the generational curses that was broken, not only for myself, but for Emily, but also for my dad. And, that whole story and that timeline is pretty remarkable, from when I started drinking to when Emily went off to college and, her whole, you could do a whole podcast just on her testimony and her situation, right?
Yeah.
because in many respects, it's her own journey, but it's a journey that's in many ways similar to mine, right? Because it was all about herself, serving herself and what her needs were and what she wanted to do. And I was like that. So I kind of going back to the parental thing, like you kind of set the bar, right? And you chart the course, and through your actions as a parent, you then give them the map to where maybe sin is easy, right? And so I felt that by my actions as a parent, it was almost like giving them permission to do the behaviors that and I mean like Olivia has her own, but Olivia and Emily did her own, but they modeled what I was, right? And my wife was the steadfast rock in all of this.
Yeah.
My wife is never quit praying.
Yeah.
She never gave up. She could have walked out. I mean, I know she could have walked out a dozen times.
Yeah.
And I went to counseling, and I mean, there's a lot of things that you make promises like, so after that event where I lost my cool, did I correct? Yeah, you correct, but did I ever quit? No.
Yeah.
And then I think about, I would pray to God to help me manage my drinking.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to give it up. I just need to pull it back just a little bit so I don't act like that.
What do you think? God is sitting up there on the throne looking down like, this isn't how this works. You continue on this. I'm going to give you free will to continue to think that you're managing this, right, Todd? And so I continued to abuse alcohol, and I worked in environments it was celebrated. Like, I mean, it was part of the culture, right? Yeah. You went to sales meetings and that was it, or you engaged with individuals where the whole thing was consumption, and that was just the whole nature of my work. And for that to completely change, it was, I mean, there was one event that was transformational as to what happened, but breaking those generational curses comes through baptism. And Emily, she was the one that initiated us coming back to Radiant. Okay. She was the one that in college was convicted, right? And you can share like why did you feel like it was time for us to come back to church, and why did we choose this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what led up to that moment?
Yeah.
I have like a couple questions in my head. And so, but like, here's how I've kind of seeing the story is just to kind of lead up to what you're going to talk about is your father, drank it. That kind of, you used the word generational curse, which I agree with that was coming from you. I'm not putting that on you. It's like, and then you also drank, and you knew I shouldn't be doing this, but I don't want to or can't stop right now. Almost, and I'm kind of paraphrasing. And then that kind of, as you said, modeled into your children. And so then Emily kind of models that. And then there's a point though in time where either by the two of you or one of you, it's like, we have to break this. Yeah. Right. And so I want to get to that part, but I want to hear what was for you, Emily, what was leading up to that moment?
Yeah. So something my mom deeply feared was that my sister and I would become alcoholics. And she would be like, don't even drink. Like, it's genetic. You could become an alcoholic. And we were like, that will never happen to us. Like, this is what we grew up with. That's never going to happen. And I was always a little bit of a troublemaker in high school. I think that's just the younger sibling, the nature of it. Yeah. But when I got to college, again, we were very church homeless. I knew God was real. I didn't doubt that God was real, but I had no spiritual relationship with the Lord. I don't think I really prayed. I didn't have anything. So when I went to college, it was just like this open world where I was introduced to heavy drinking and drugs. And every weekend I would just binge drink and experiment with drugs. And this was something that I was like, never thought that would be me. Yeah. Anywho, so this was a cycle that probably went on for about, a year and a half that just had me in this chokehold. And I look back on it now, and at the time I thought, I'm in college. This is just normal. And now I look back on it and I'm like, that was not healthy. That was addiction.
Yeah.
And I was reliant and could not break it. And it modeled really similar behavior to my dad. And I had a girlfriend. She invited me to Radiant. And I was like, you know what? I could probably stand to go to church, because I was dealing with a lot of sexual sin at the time. I was dealing with partying every weekend. I was not doing well in classes because I wouldn't do my homework. I would skip doing that so that I could go out and drink. I was failing classes, hiding it from my parents. And this girl invited me, and I was like, you know what, let's go. And I'll never forget, I walked into this service. This was my sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
Not high school. And I was so hungover, standing in the pew. I was like shaking, ready to fall over. And Pastor Lee was preaching on 2 Corinthians. Like, it wasn't an altar call. It wasn't anything super revelational.
Yeah.
It was historical.
Yeah.
And even in that, the presence of God met me.
Wow.
And I was like, God, you are real.
Yeah.
And I am not living my life well.
Yeah.
And I need to get right with you.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have any conviction before for how I was living, which I think is really bad, because that means you don't hear God's voice and you're not his sheep, because they say that the Lord is a shepherd and he speaks to his sheep. And so after I started going to church, I started having convictions about the alcohol, the sexual sin I was living in. And I was like, you know what? You guys should come to church with me. I'm really loving this church. And they're like, let's do it. So we started attending together, and just going back, and then ultimately made the decision to get baptized together. So my dad and I got baptized together. But I wish I could say that is where our story ended and everything was beautiful. But we definitely continued to live in lukewarm sin after that.
So this is now like, you had mentioned that you first came to Radiant you were in 5th grade.
Yeah.
I think is what you said.
Yeah.
How long were you attending then?
Oh, we only went one time.
Oh, okay. One time. Got
just
it.
one time.
One time because someone had invited you at
Yes.
the movies. Yeah. Then church homeless, you said.
Yeah.
Until sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
So that's a long time.
It is a long time.
And at this point, so this is how I take it then, is at this point, you're feeling something needs to change, but you're powerless to stop it. I mean, you're not filling yourself, you're not in community, you're not, plugged into a church. There's all those things and then someone invites you again.
Yeah.
Come back, and the Lord encounters you.
Yeah.
And you guys come. How long did you guys start coming until you got baptized?
I think I started going in December and we got baptized that April.
Okay, yeah. So within 6 months, basically.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's pick up then now. So in my head, I would have thought, wow, beautiful story. And then everyone was better, and no counseling's needed anymore. And everyone's sobered up and we're good to go.
No,
Yeah.
I wish that was the case. At least for me, trying to think. So this all happens my sophomore year of college. And like I said, I'm now having these convictions. But I think at this point, I am really steadfast on God's grace. God, you're real. You saved me. You love me. I'm a child of God. And so my sin is covered.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in that mindset that you're so holy that I'm going to live my life for you because you deserve it.
Got it. Yeah.
And
very different mindset.
Yes.
Yeah. that's a distinction that not many people can fall into a trap of not making that distinction. Yeah.
Yes. And I think even just for new believers, sanctification is something that's going to happen our whole lives.
Yeah.
And truly at this point, there was a time where I was like, I don't think I could ever live without drinking, whether it's just normal, a healthy relationship. I can't imagine a life where I don't have alcohol, where we don't have alcohol at family events, or a life where I don't have sex, which was something that was a huge, huge battle for me in my life. And I was having convictions, and I was like, I would like to walk in purity. I would like to do this, but I feel like I can't. I genuinely do not think I can do this. And so that struggle probably continued for another year, almost 2 years.
Okay.
I'm coming up on almost 2 years of walking fully in purity.
That's amazing.
But it was a battle. Something I was like, I don't think I can ever do this until I like had a revelation with the Lord, woke up one day and was just completely set free from it. So going into my junior year of college, I was still really struggling with this. And then into my senior year of college, I ended up getting into a really bad relationship. And this is pretty pivotal to my story, I would say as well. I was going back to church with this guy. It was super instantaneous. We were like, this is it. We're going to get married.
Right.
But it was more so like that narcissistic abuse type situation. And something I've been able to reflect back on is this isn't your fault. But growing up in a really unstable household, I was like, men can treat me a certain way and I'll forgive them. And I think that was really modeled in all of my male relationships that I had. So I had this kind of tumultuous relationship that we ended up breaking up, which was, I look back on it now and I'm like, it was God's protection because I would never have left myself. And it was in that moment where I was like, I have nothing because I had dropped out of college due to this relationship. I had pushed away all of my friends. I just had pushed away everyone. I was not doing well. I was like, I have nothing right now. I'm not going to my church again because we were going to his church. I truly have nothing, but I know how I'm living is not right because we were basically living together, but going to church, it was just very hypocritical. I was like, how we're living is not right and I need to repent. And that was kind of my moment where I was like, I'm at my rock bottom. I truly have zero left in my life, but you can have me. And his transformational moment came right after this because this was like fall, winter of 2023.
Okay.
So
separate from your experience?
Separate from my experience, but in that timeline of like, we got baptized, lived in this period of lukewarmness. I had this radical moment where like, I need to be obedient.
You hit almost a rock bottom.
I hit a rock bottom. I had nothing. So
so she went through an abusive relationship. And no dad wants to see any child go through that, right? So she separates from this individual and we're thankful for that. And then we decide that we're going to go, and so and I appreciate you sharing that you don't say that, but again, I gave a roadmap, right? And I think no parent wants their child to pick up their worst characteristics, right? Just like I don't, I don't hold my parents like, I blame anybody. It's I made the choices. I made the choices. I engaged in the behavior I engaged in because I chose it, right? And then you assimilate with other friends, and again, you look at a man and you pick out the people he hangs with. That's the character of the person, right? And so, but anyways. So I was still drinking, and there was a couple things that had happened. So I was working for a company that during this whole time during COVID, they had made some mandates, and the mandates went against my religious views, and they went against my moral views. And my dad and I went up to our camp. We have a camp up in the woods, and we were trying to make a decision like, what do I do what the company is asking me to do to keep my job? I mean, it was all or nothing, right? And we came back and I'd prayed about it. My dad and I had talked about it. And I love my dad. He's my hero. And we came back, and I remember getting up on Monday morning, and my scripture that I read was, the path to sin is easy and wide, and then the path to righteousness is hard and difficult. And I made a decision that morning through that Bible verse that I was willing to walk away from my job to tell them I'm not doing what you're telling me I have to do to keep my job. And I did. And then the pressure that came from that was like, I got my manager and the regional manager. It was just like, it was intense. You need to do this. You need to do this. And the more they asked and the more they pushed, the deeper I dug in and said, I'm not doing this, right? So I was trusting in God in this decision that he would lead me to a new job. And we came to church, and I remember walking up after the service, and Pastor Lee and Jane and my wife and I were there, and Emily were praying. And he prayed over me, and that we would come out of this situation, that God would provide, right? And I still remember that. And it was it was so moving, right? Because
Yeah.
God was going to provide. And I didn't know how. I didn't know what was to come. And so as that door with work closed and I made that choice and separated from them, another door opened.
Yeah.
And so I got another job, and the individual who I'd worked with in the industry for a long time, he's like, listen, I need you on our team and want you to join our team. And so God opened that window for me to go work there. And things were fantastic, right? And yet I'm still drinking though.
Yeah.
Right. And
I think if anything, your drinking had gotten worse than it had been. Probably around the time we got baptized, we were both doing better, and it had gotten worse again, much worse.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think it was? I mean, I'm not trying to be a counselor here, but I'm just trying to get in your head a little bit. Like, was it fear based? Like, do you feel like drinking was to try to numb a feeling? Was it to try to have control over something? Like, was it, like what? Because it feels like there's times where it got better, and then times linked to circumstances that it got worse. Like, did you feel like there was something that you had picked up where it's like, my drinking has been tied to this, or maybe not? I don't know if you've had clarity on that.
No, I never had any control of my drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think I would, right? I drank less today, but not to celebrate that, but you come home and I'd look forward to, having that craft beer or having one of those bourbons at the end of the evening. And that was just normal, right? And to the point where like, that was just my life.
Yeah.
And so do I know whether it was from fear, or do I know if it was like, in my head, maybe I was thinking I could control this, but yet it was only pouring gasoline on an already raging fire of insecurity.
Yeah.
And then we went to Florida over like
New Year's.
And this is a little dark. But got up that morning, it was, drinking in the morning, day drinking all afternoon. Got into an argument with my wife. We went down to the bar and got some oysters and got some food, and then did some more drinking there, came back. And then there was something that happened at the dinner table, and it was like the light switch went off. And I got up, and I didn't tell anybody. I left my phone on the car, and I took off walking down the beach. And this is a beach where it's completely deserted. I mean, there's no homes anywhere. And I just started walking, and I walked for miles. And I can tell you that demonic spirits are real.
Yeah.
Because I was going to end my life that night.
Yeah.
And I'm yelling at God. And I'm angry at God. And I'm looking up at the stars. And I've got these 3 demonic spirits around me telling me to do this. Like, you'll be better off. Or whatever they were saying, right? It was dark. And I felt like there was this cold presence. I mean, I'm in Florida, and I could feel it was cold, and it was damp, and these were things that were not normal. And I had three people that were friends or a relative that had chosen to end their life.
Okay.
So, and you tell yourself, I would never do that, because you see the pain that you put your family through, right? But when you're drinking and you're way beyond making conscious decisions, you're thinking that that's what is going to solve your problem. I mean, I had a new job. We were going to church. I've been baptized. But it just showed that sin, that it was still there.
Yeah.
Right? And I had And I'm looking up at the stars and I'm yelling and I'm angry with God. And all I hear is go back. That was all I heard, was just go back. And I looked around and I emptied the round that was in my handgun. And I walked back. And the first person I saw when I came back was my dad. And he was looking for me. And I totally lost it. Like, I don't want to. I said, sorry.
You're good.
I don't want to pull this wagon anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. This is too much. And that night, this is no joke. I got up the next morning. My wife said, alcohol is demonic because it's spirits, right? And we came back. It was the season of Seek.
Yep.
And this is no joke, but God took it from me.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 35 plus years of drinking every day. Never once did I ever Jones for another drink.
Wow.
Did I ever feel compelled to pick up another drink? I can get a beer from my family members. I can mix a drink for them in our home. I have zero compulsion or temptation to try alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, he took that addiction
Yeah.
and evaporated.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, it was gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, January 7th until today, I've been completely sober.
Almost 2 years.
2 years.
That's
And
incredible.
I went to sales meetings and people are like, oh, aren't you drinking?
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
They're like, you know how hard that is to come here and not, because everything's like, it's all social, right?
Yeah.
So it's club sodas for me, or NA beers. I mean, I've come quite a good aficionado of NA beers, but it's the fact that, think about that, right? Yeah. I never thought I would be like, oh, well, that's one you don't want to really enjoy because somebody looks at you like you were a craft beer connoisseur. You used to make, hundreds of gallons of beer a year, right? Yeah. And now you're lecturing me on NA beer? Yeah. Yes, I am, actually. So, anyway, but I remember just that God took that from me. And because I asked him to.
Yeah. And I see it like you had mentioned, I'm blanking on the verse you meant. Oh, it was in Ephesians 6, but I was reminded of Romans. Oh man, it's 5 or 6. I'm blanking on it, but it's basically like the things that you do that lead to like shame and death. I'm paraphrasing. And there was, for both of you, it was, okay, how can I control this? How can I still like do these things, but not go too far? And it's like, where's the balance? And the Lord's saying it's all or nothing. Like
it's all or nothing.
You either want all of me or you want all of that.
Yes.
And what are you now doing with those things that lead to shame and death?
Yep.
And both of you experienced that kind of rock bottom. I mean, you got to the point where it's like, this is where this leads. Like it leads to me being alone on a beach, ready to end my life.
Yes.
So do I want to continue down this beach path? Like, do I want to continue walking down the beach?
No. Or
do I want to turn around and say, I'm done with this? And that's what you experienced.
I did.
And so, I think there is probably something, there's most likely something biological, chemical, psychological that happens where it's like, oh wow, that control, that thing has happened like through the grace of the Spirit, but it's also you experienced. I mean, that's when I talk to a lot of people that have gone through 12-step programs for different forms of addiction. One of the things that they had mentioned is, my issue was not that bad, but I can't get a hold of it, so I'm going to go to a 12-step program. And they go there and they see other people who are 10 years farther down, and it's like, oh, they lost their marriage, their children, their jobs, they're on lists, they're on this, they can't hold anything down. That is where this ends up. And so it's like, well, I don't want to dabble. I don't want to just do this, 2 times a day and that's it. It's like, I don't want to do this at all. And you experience that. So that's a powerful. I mean, thank you, Todd, for sharing. I mean, I'm sure it's super vulnerable, but it's a beautiful story. And both of you experience, that around the same time, right? Which is pretty crazy.
It is.
So, where do those two stories merge? Like, where do they come together now? Because it's like you are both saying, we've been about 2 years sober, basically. And it's like, so like, did those stories ever coincide? Did you guys like talk to each other about this? Like, was it like, what was that like for you guys?
It wasn't for me to tell her how to live her life or for her to like, oh, Emily, you just because I stopped, you need to stop, right?
Yeah.
And so, so I go to the sales meeting in Denver, and then I go see my daughter, Olivia, in Salt Lake. And Julie lets her know that, hey, your dad, he's quit drinking.
Yeah.
And so she goes out and she buys NA beer, right?
Yeah.
And this is like, and so I remember we go to a church in Salt Lake, and and we're in there, and she says the most beautiful prayer. We did communion that day. She just says the most beautiful prayer. And I felt so redeemed that God had given her the words to share how she felt and how grateful she was that this curse had been lifted. This addiction was gone, right? I still think, even at that very young point in the sobriety, there may have been like, well, is this going to last, right?
Yeah.
Is this going to hold?
Yeah.
But we were certainly celebrating, right? That was it. And I felt that by seeing her and going to church with her that day and her prayer, it was one of the most beautiful prayers I'd ever heard. I believe it was the Holy Spirit speaking through her that was the start of healing that, right? And that she finally, her prayer had been heard. Years and years and years of praying, right? It finally had been heard and answered.
Yeah.
And then I came home, and and Emily and I had talked about what are our next steps with church and serving at Radiant. And so my wife and I joined the greeting team, and then Emily made some decisions as to what she was going to do as far as with her photography business.
Yeah.
That's not yet. That didn't happen yet.
Oh.
I just started serving on the photography team.
Yes.
Okay,
Just volunteering.
Yeah.
Just volunteering.
Right.
Yeah. So we basically, this was, I would say, from like December to January, had our kind of revelations. And then I went to Seek 2024. And it was, I hadn't really been to church in a hot minute, but I had wanted to serve on the volunteer photography team.
Yeah.
And the relationship I was in at the time, he was like, you don't need to do that. That's stupid. And I was like, okay, well, I'll forget that idea. And the Lord just kind of brought it back up again. And I was like, okay, this is something I need to do. And I think the first thing I photographed was a Seek service for 2024.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And it was that same feeling of when I had first gone, where I was like so overcome with the presence of the Lord and just filled with joy that I had been lacking. And when I look back on both of our stories, at least for me, I'd always been chasing something to fill that joy that was missing in my life. And for this first time, I was like, this is what I've been missing. Even when I was baptized, even when I was in this lukewarm sin, I'm like, I'm still struggling because I don't have this fullness of joy that comes with walking obediently with Jesus and trusting him as God as your Father. And so I think after that, I started serving, and then I started doing contract work that April, and then they were plugged in serving on teams as well. And that's kind of just been our consistency since then, just being fully obedient with our walk with the Lord.
So I have an interesting thought.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have thought about this, but as you were talking, I was kind of hit with this. I have an iPad here, just kind of like take little notes.
Yeah.
And I had kind of drawn like your father, an arrow to you, an arrow to Emily, kind of like, okay, when in the story does the curse break? The generational curse break? Because, if you have children, where does it start? And so it's like, I was waiting for the moment in the story where, okay, this is where I, the father, chose to break this generational curse, and this is how it's changed Emily's life. But that never happened. What I hear is all at the same time, the Lord encounters, at the relatively same time, at the same time, the Lord encounters both of you separately.
Yeah.
And he brings healing and transformation and identity to you, and healing and transformation and identity to you. And I was trying to figure out why. Why is this story like this? And I go back to the phrase that you said earlier, which is, because of the instability of my home, I have let every man treat me however they treat me, and that's who I am, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that if the story was only, this is how Todd's life was transformed, so now you follow suit, I don't think it would have lasted. I think it would have been I have to do this because this is what my dad told me to do. But then you said, I didn't have that identity as God as my father.
Yeah.
And as amazing as I have a crush on your dad. He's awesome. So as amazing as your father is, there's something about identifying God as your father.
Yes.
Like there's the heavenly father and the earthly father.
Yeah.
That's going to really secure and impact and transform your life. And so it's like at that moment, the Lord became your guys' father, and he showed you this is what you have, an incredible father. And you have an incredible father, but through the brokenness of men, there was a model that was shown to you.
Yeah.
So God's saying, here's the way I want you to follow.
Yeah.
You still love and honor the father I've put in your life, but this is the model that I have for you. And so it's interesting. I was like, my arrows didn't line up anymore. I don't know. Have you guys thought about that? It's like,
Well, and then so it worked in reverse. So because of my sobriety and the leadership that I took and ownership of that, right?
And with our family.
With our family, right? So Olivia reduced her significance of consumption, right? But then I remember we were down for dinner, and this was a year later, and my dad's sitting across from me, and I had ordered a Stella NA, and he orders a Stella NA, and he says, "I want to let you know that I don't need to drink anymore."
Yeah.
My dad quit.
wow.
And so for my dad to be inspired, for my dad to say, I don't need this anymore, right? That was that's another win, right? And and so, maybe I said, that's not for me anymore. And he looks at it and says, hey, if Todd can do it, I can do it. Or, that would be a question you would have to ask him. But and then as I shared some of the story with other friends, they quit drinking. Friends that I used to drink all the time with, right? And they stepped away from it. And so I believe that the Holy Spirit works in people in a way that if you lead by example, if you give all the glory to God and say that this was done through his works, not mine, that God did this, and if you trusted in him, it works miracles. And it really does. And so you celebrate with those folks these folks, I mean, you wouldn't, if you lined us all up, you'd be like, oh yeah, likes that bourbon, that bourbon. Like we were that guy, we were those guys, right? And we've walked away from that and focused on our families.
It's crazy. It's less of a surgical clip in the story where it's like, and this is the whole line, and now this is where it's going to stop. It's like, instead of a clip, it's like, here's where the bomb went off. And it's like, the Lord just kind of comes in, drops like a 500K bomb, and it just it affects everybody in a positive way. It's like your daughter, your friend, your father, all these relationships go, and they all just get impacted by that, which is crazy. What a beautiful end to that. That's not where I thought this story was, just so you know, which is really cool, to see this story. Okay, so as we kind of land the plane on this conversation, I'd love if you would take a minute just to kind of picture, you guys are, we'll say 2 years into this new life, new grace. And that story's been 30 plus years. What would you say to either a father or a daughter or someone who is in the middle of your story, who is like, I don't see a life outside of this addiction. don't see, God as my father. I just want to try to get a little bit of a hold on this. Like, what would you say to that? Like, if I sat down a young father in front of you or a young lady in front of you and was like, this person is where you were 15 years ago, like, what would you say to them?
Yeah. I think one of the most redeeming things that the Lord has done with my story is the ability to disciple other women. I do students on Wednesday nights, and that's just one of the coolest things because I think in my story, like my high school years were the most transformational to where that sexual sin kind of bloomed from. And so being able to like disciple young women now, like you don't have to go through this alone. And like girls do go through this. You're not alone. I would look at a young girl, and I do get to look at these young girls and be like, this is something that you're going to struggle with because we're human, but there is freedom in God, and he has the ability to free you from this. And the reason that we're able to walk in purity and to do those things is because the Holy Spirit lives within us.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing that I struggled with was like, not realizing that like, oh my gosh, the Holy Spirit lives inside of me. Like when you sin like this, you sin against yourself and you sin against God. And I was like, this is an individual choice for me. I'm not hurting God. I'm only hurting myself. And the truth is that with the Holy Spirit dwelling within inside of you, you're actually hurting the Lord too by those decisions.
Right.
And so just even explaining to like a young person, like, this is serious.
Yeah.
And like there is freedom. You can do it and you haven't done too much. You're still pure. God marks you as pure and worthy and you can do it.
Yeah.
Because I think growing, I was like, I've done too much. Like why stop now?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, God sees you as pure. And just because you've done this doesn't mean he can't rewrite your story tomorrow. You can start tomorrow and you can do it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
God's grace is the most powerful and liberating gift that any person can receive.
Yeah.
And no one is too far gone, no matter how much sin is upon you,
Yeah.
that he wipes it all away.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter what you've said, what you've done, what you've experienced, all that ick. He can take it all away. And I remember when I was baptized that morning and I came up out of the water and Pastor John's like, hey, it's okay. You left it all in the water. Like it's all, and at that point it was like, it just started to come off like an onion, right? You started to peel back the sin, right? And to share that with someone who, it comes with maturity comes in different times for different people.
Yeah.
And I had to come to the realization that I was never mature enough to figure out that I had control over anything. I had to become mature enough to know that I had to trust God.
Yeah.
And that God has a plan and that God wants us to follow him. We have to engage with God and trust him.
Yeah.
And as someone who likes to have control over, my words and everything in my life, right? Control that's a big thing, and giving that to God and saying, I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
I'm giving this all to you. And then in exchange, you give me grace when I don't deserve it. And no matter how icky you feel or no matter what you've done, he still loves you.
Yeah.
He loves you more than you love anything on this in this world, more than you love yourself. He loves you to the ends of the earth. And for someone to be struggling, it's like pray into that. But you also have to trust that when you ask God to take this from you and you give it up, he will.
Yeah.
He will, just like that. He takes it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
It's so true.
Oh man, I'm so encouraged right now.
I love that.
I feel
love
so
that.
great.
Yes.
Todd, Emily, thank you so much. We've been trying to get you guys on this podcast since we started the podcast, and it's just not worked out schedule wise.
I
And
know.
the Lord set it up for right now.
Yes,
and
he did.
so thank you so much for telling your story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm excited to get to know you guys more too, just to kind of see if this is what God has done in 2 years,
Yeah.
what's 20 years going to be like? What's
Yeah.
what's the legacy now that you will carry through the Fox name and that you will carry as well? And so I love this. And so thank you so much, guys.
Yes.
It's been
Thanks
an
for
honor
having
and pleasure
us.
being with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this conversation. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode of the Radiant Podcast.